My name is Nick McCloskey. I'm a service delivery manager here at PMG for the last few years, specializing in role provisioning and IT financial management and also onboarding services with various clients that we have. A couple quick little housekeeping notes for this webinar series. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the top right corner. You can chat them to us. And at the end of the event, if we have some time in the 30 minutes, we'll look at those questions and review them and answer them. If we run out of time, or if there's a question that doesn't get answered, or you want to talk to me personally, feel free to email me at mmcklowski@PMG.net. Also, there will be a copy of this slide deck and the recording of the webinar presented, emailed out to everybody who's on this call. It's also going to get posted to the PMG.net website, so you can get it there as well. So, the agenda for today's meeting is we're going to take a high-level look at what business automation is, why your company needs to do it. Then we'll talk about, well, how does the service catalog allow you to incorporate business automation at your company? And then we'll take that deeper dive into what the purpose of this webinar is, which is looking specifically at doing role administration and how we can use role administration through iRequest. We'll then do a demo of the system. We'll actually provision some access for some users. And then we'll look at we'll tell a customer success story and get to any questions that remain that you guys have texted in to the webinar. We'll get to those. So to get started, we want to talk about business service automation at a high level. So there are three key components that come along with business automation, and that is getting speed, tracking, and cost management. Speed seems like the one that jumps out right away. There's plenty of times a company, in order to have services provided, it requires emails and phone calls, or there's a conversation in the hallway, someone wants something to get done, and it's a manual task, someone has to key something into a system, and it's very slow to do. There's no way to track it, there's no way to know what's going on. And so speed is a key item that business automation is going to increase. It's going to allow you to automate a lot of the processing. It's going to allow you to make sure that there's accuracy in the configuration so people aren't fat-fingering stuff or mishearing on a phone call the role that somebody needs on an application. And also, if you have multiple applications and different types of approvals, the approval process can be managed through the service catalog as well, too, which will greatly enhance how quickly that gets performed. Tracking. End user requests something. End user needs access to an application. Well, they may not know where it goes. They made a request, they sent an email to somebody, and it got to a support desk, and they're waiting for 5 days, and they have no idea if they've gotten access, if something got held up, did it get denied, are they waiting on somebody's approval. The tracking aspect allows the user to know what's going on at all times and know how close they are to getting with the service that they requested. And that drives to the bottom line, which is cost management. So when you have automated provisioning, that's less labor hours of people having to do manual tasks of going to application, giving people access. As far as deprovisioning, when you think about large companies have multiple licenses to different softwares, and there could be users that are no longer using that software, or the users left the company. Well, we need to free up those licenses so that somebody else can utilize them. Otherwise, the company's going to continue buying more and more licenses without the need to. So, how's that allowed through the service catalog? Well, the PMG software suite has two main components to it. It's the iRequest, which is the front-end e-commerce, like web-based interface that we have for end users. So this is where a user would come in and request something like access to an application, or it could be something outside of IT. It could be requesting marketing materials for a college recruiting trip that's going on. Many different requests can be done through the service catalog. It doesn't just have to be restricted to IT. And then the iDeliver backend of the PMG service catalog does all the workflow processing. So it's the drag and drop of, I want this approval to happen, I want it to update this system, I want to make these notifications. All that's handled through the service catalog. So when we talk specifically to role provisioning, what we want is to give the power to the user. It should be self-service. A user should be able to come into the service catalog, make a request for an application or multiple applications that they need, see that it's been fulfilled, see who approved it if there was approval needed. If a manager wants to pull some reports and see who has access to what, are there any bottlenecks in the process, all that, since it's being maintained in the service catalog, make it easily reportable and easily visible to not only the end users, but to the managers and the administrators who are responsible for making sure the services are completed. So why is role provisioning a big deal? Well, you think about the end user. Someone just got hired to the company, or maybe they're switching departments, or they got a promotion, they're doing something completely different. Well, they need to know, what systems do I need access to? How do I start working? Think about how many times someone joins a company and sits around twiddling their fingers for days looking for access to an application that hasn't yet been provided. Or they don't know that they need to even request that software. From the administrator side, they're responsible of all the applications across the enterprise. So they have to be familiar with how to set up users, how to provide roles in these different applications. There could be different approvals required to get access to certain things. They have to manage all of that, as well as deal with phone calls coming in saying, hey, troubleshooting, the end user can't find what system to get to, or the end user thought they got a role provision, but they didn't. So it ties up a lot of their time. And from a business standpoint, from a high-level standpoint, you want to make sure that if people are getting access to systems, they've gone through the right policies in order to get that access. They got the right approvals. The department head said, yes, I allow X number of people to get access to this application. Those are the types of things that can be managed through using a service catalog. If you have Sarbanes-Oxley governance and auditing controls that only users can't have access to certain SAP roles and have access to other ones, or they can't be members of multiple AD groups, those are the types of things that can be managed through the service catalog, and a challenge that they're running into, that they don't have an answer for when everything's being done manually through phone calls and updates to spreadsheets. So one of the ways we recommend handling this issue, and some of our clients have taken the same approach with great success, is the idea of having a business role. Here is what the end user wants to request. They got hired for sales. They got hired for procurement management. They don't need to know what all the different technical roles and the different systems on the back end they need to request access for. They need to just know that I can come in and request a sales role, and everything will be handled for me. So if we look at this diagram right here, just an example, for this salesperson, if they requested that, it would give them a sales engineer role on Salesforce, and it would also put them in the sales rep Active Directory group. Whereas if it was a procurement manager, they'd be put into the procurement Active Directory group, as well as 2 SAP roles, and also user account and remedy. And these profiles can be built anyway, whatever your business needs are, and whatever your how you group together your roles for a specific user. People like to use the term of a business-friendly role, which would be the sales role or the procurement manager. So once that's requested, that's when the magic of iDeliver comes in and does all the processing. As I mentioned, it's drag and drop. What do I want to have happen in the process? So here, I've routed in a simple approval. So anything that gets requested will go to an approver. They'll send them an email that lets the manager or the department head or whoever, the owner of the profile, say, there's been a request. Are you okay with this person getting access? Once they approve it, then the provisioning takes place. As you can see, in this example, we have provisioning going to Active Directory, SAP, Remedy, and Salesforce. One of the key things here is this can be done in parallel. So let's say there's 20 applications that need to get access. Instead of waiting for each one to get individually done before the next one takes off, we can have them run all at the same time. So once the approval is done, maybe in an hour, if that's how long it takes, the long pull of that group of applications to get done, that user then has access within the hour to all the different applications. So, and with the service catalog, doing approvals, it's going to right size to your computer, your phone, your tablet, whatever technology you're using to communicate with the service catalog. You can go there, approve the requests that are coming in, and click submit, and the workflow will continue on. So that being said, kind of a high level, let's actually dive into an example on our demo environment. So let me pull up our service catalog. Make sure I get it on the right screen, as you saw Salesforce right behind. So I'm gonna log in. And normally you don't have to. You can set up there to be IWA pass-through so that once you go to the service catalog, it automatically logs you in based on your Windows credentials. For those of you who are not familiar with the PMG service catalog, this is the very basic look of the catalog. It can be branded for your different companies, logos, color schemes, what images you want to show. If you want to have some scrolling information, some announcements about what's going on within the company. But here what we're looking at is just a very straightforward and basic splash page for the service catalog. You see here on the left side is the category taxonomy of all the different services that are available through the service catalog. For our demo today, we're going to be looking at business tools. And there's going to be 3 that we're looking at specifically: creating a business profile, update profile system roles, and then request a profile. So as we think about our story of someone who's just joined the company and they got a sales role, let's talk about what's going to need to happen in order for that person to get access for that sales role. So the first thing that will be done is an administrator is going to come in and set up that sales role profile. So I'm going to go in and create a business profile. And we'll just put here sales engineer, salesman in Atlanta for a description. And this form is highly configurable. Right now you're just seeing some inputs through text, but we can do drop downs, calls to other databases, some show hide rules. There's a lot of rich things that can be done through the form. But in this example, we've kept it pretty basic. We're going to be entering in some text and in some text fields. We have a tabber to choose between different items we want to fill out on the form, and some drop down bars that are going to be used as well. In this example, we have the option of either creating a brand new profile or copying a profile. So if I was to copy a profile, I can get a list of all the profiles that are currently out there. And let's say for the sales engineer, well, there's already a sales engineer one out there. So it currently has these roles associated with it. I could choose different ones, like project manager, a lot more roles, and it would inherit these roles into whatever the new profile is. Knowing that there's already a sales engineer one out there, I'm going to put sales engineer 2 so that it doesn't get confused. We would have a back-end check to make sure that it doesn't exist, but it's a lot easier to go ahead and correct the issue right now. So add business profile owner. I'm going to put my name in there because this is who I want to be responsible for approving access requested for this profile. And for this workflow, we have 2 questions of profile owner approval required and users manager approval required. I'm going to say yes for profile owner approval required because I want any requests that hit the workflow to go to me to get approval. And for a user's manager, I don't want them to have to respond. So I'm going to go ahead and change that one to no. Now I need to determine, all right, what systems do I want to associate with this profile name? So for our example, we're going to do 2 that will be automated and 1 that's going to be manual. So Active Directory group, I'm going to go ahead and put in Active Directory group, and the role is going to be employees. And I'm also going to choose Salesforce and just regular system access to Salesforce. And then I'm going to choose one that I know we don't have integration to a system, where it's called VPN. So this is going to happen from time to time. You may not have in your service catalog a connection to every application within your tool. You may not have the application may not have the APIs that we can communicate with, or something that was just brought on and you just want to have a task sent to somebody to perform the work. So that will be the case for VPN. It won't be automated. Someone will have to do a manual task. So let's add that to the list as well. Go ahead and click Submit. As you can see here, the submission went in, and I have a receipt of 1016. If I click here, I can see what the current status is for all this, and it says, look, finished successfully, added profile. So it added all the different roles that I wanted to that profile. So this is now this profile has now been successfully added, and someone could go in and request it. But for our example, let's say that the administrator made a mistake, or has decided a little bit later down the road that they want to change what roles are associated with this profile. So a user comes in, selects a profile for Sales Engineer 2, which got a lot of roles. Let's do Sales Engineer 1. And we have the marketing Salesforce, and VPN. I'm going to change this marketing one to remove this, and I'm going to add another Active Directory group, which is going to be human resources, just for fun. So current role of marketing, taking that one out, and we're going to put it on human resources. So go ahead and submit that. View the order now, and we see that the profile was completed successfully. Now, let me go back to requests. And so the administration side of this is now done. Now I'm going to log in, pretend I'm logging in as an end user. So I need to request a profile for a user. So I'm going to come in, and who do I want to assign this to? Well, I'm going to choose Aaron Klein, one of my coworkers, and we see Aaron Klein's name right there. And when you're looking at this, you can see Aaron Klein already has some roles associated with him. He already has human resources, marketing, service catalog admins, and security Active Directory groups. And if I go to Active Directory itself, let me pull this up real quick. And if I look at Aaron, I say, what are you a member of? We can see, all right, here's all the things that he is a member of. He is a member of human resources, marketing, security, and service catalog. So we're going to want to have those roles removed. We could just add on to them if we wanted to. It depends on whatever the business wants and the logic that you want to have in place. In our case, we just want them to remove all roles that you currently have and add the new ones. So when I go to select a profile, I go sales engineer, we're going to see that we have the Active Directory group of human resources. We have Salesforce, which is one we wanted to keep, and then the VPN one as well, which we know is going to be a manual task. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this. So if I check the status of this current request, I can see here that it's awaiting approval. And as we mentioned, I was going to list myself as the approving manager, so it routed to me. I'm going to show you, let me pull up my web Outlook. I want to show you that email was sent real quick. All right. And let's go ahead and show all the images. So an email was sent to me. And it says awaiting approval, the date that it was submitted. Please review the profile request and approve or reject. Who is it for? Here's the current roles that Aaron Klein has. Here's the requested role that he has. And then you have the option. We could make it you approve automatically through the email, but for this demo, we're going to go to the web work list to complete the request. So when I do that, it opens up this window, and I get the same information here. Who is it requested for? Aaron Klein, current roles that he's going to get. Go ahead and select approve and click submit. All right, that's done. Hide this and go back to where we are. So as you see right now, status removing roles. So it's going to Active Directory right now. As we recall, Aaron had 4 Active Directory groups associated with them. So those are being added, or those are being removed. And now that they've been removed, it's now going through and adding the groups. As I can see here in the status, we removed roles. Right there, I see we removed roles. Now I'm seeing that the AD group was added. Now I'm seeing that a Salesforce user was created. And there should be a manual task now. Yes, as we talked about, there was that VPN application that was going to require someone to do some manual work. So what I have that set up is a task that is being sent to me. So if I go and I look at my work items, I'm going to see here a very basic type of request, but we can, you can add all the HTML that you want into it and free this up to show more information. But kept it basic for this person needs access. Who was it? Aaron Klein. That's his UPN. What system is it? The VPN. And who approved it? The approving manager was me. And I say complete. Click submit. So go back to the process, to the request, and I can look at the status. and I see that sales engineer provisioning completed. So it's finished successfully. So if I go back to Active Directory now, you see all those Active Directory groups. Let me refresh. Member of. Now he's only a member of the human resources. So no one had to go to Active Directory and change what group this person was in. This was handled automatically through the service catalog, through the back-end workflow processing, which is going to alleviate a lot of time for a lot of users. The other thing we talked about that was getting automated was creating a person in Salesforce. So if I go to Salesforce, and let me start typing in Aaron Klein. Aaron Klein 2 right there was just created. So new user here in Salesforce and has access, can now join and post stuff just like they would on Facebook. So Salesforce account was created, 80 attributes were updated, and also there was a manual task for an application that we didn't have integration to, so therefore we had to send a manual task over. So pretty simple, but if you think about it, once the administrator set up the profile, they're no longer involved in the process. The end user just goes in, makes the request, and it gets sent to an approver. The person makes the approval, and then provisioning is then done. So, what are the challenges solved? Well, the end user knows where to go now. They just have to log into the service catalog. They can go to request a profile, and they will see a list of all the things that they can request. And it will be a simple business-friendly name that they'll be able to request. It's one interface, and it's going to give them access to all the different applications they need. As this gets more mature, as the company gets more mature, you can actually add in things like password reset or user unlock in different applications. For the administrators, I mentioned, their job is just to make sure that the business profiles are set up correctly and associated with the correct technical roles, and that the approvals are set up correctly. Once that's done, they're no longer involved in the day-to-day provisioning of these roles. It's automated through the service catalog, saving them a lot of time to focus on other issues rather than just providing access to applications. Now, the business challenges, you now know who has access to what. Because it was done in iRequest, there's a log. We know who has access, when they got access, who approved their access. As you saw in this demo, I removed all of their Active Directory groups and added the new one. You could make that your security logic. You could add more complex security logic based on what remedy roles you have or what SAP roles you have. It really just depends on what your needs are as a business. And you're also, if you need to change approvers or anything like that, you can easily do so. If the department heads change or if there's a new region or new department that gets created and approvals need to be routed through them, it's easy to just add in those approval rules into the service catalogs. The provisioning will then go through them. So we've seen this successfully done with our customers. One in particular has been able to save a lot of time on the amount of manual processing that's done to do provisioning of these different accesses. They have real-time status updates. They know, I requested this today. Did I get access today? No, why not? Here's the status of what happened and what's preventing me from having access to this application. In fact, it was so successful that they've extended it to outside vendors. So a lot of business partners need access to some of the applications that the company provides, such as maybe able to order items from that company. And using the service catalog, it allows them to request that type of access. So they've seen improvement in customer satisfaction, not only internally with their employees and their contractors, but also with their external vendors that they deal with, that they do their daily business with. So in review, you're able to check your statuses on all your requests. Someone may request something, you know what they requested, what access they're getting. As you saw, we can send email updates. If things are taking too long to get done, we can do email escalations. You're completely containing all the process within one service catalog. There's no longer phone calls or emails back and forth to try to get things implemented. Tracking is key here. You know what roles are going to be available to your users. If a new role is created, then you can include that into the profile so that someone can request it. You can manipulate the role assignment, continually change and update what different applications a sales engineer needs, keep adding new ones. And you also have the provisioning log in iRequest, so you know exactly what day that person got that access. All that's going to be tracked in the service catalog. As you continue to mature and build out automated provisioning, you can continue to do some of the things we talked about with the security management of putting in checks and balances for when you request certain access, that it removes access from other things. And then what that really leads into is the idea of onboarding and offboarding. So you have somebody who has just joined the company, they've come through the HR system. That's all that needs to be supplied to the service catalog is some information about who this new user is. We can create an Active Directory user for them. We can then add them into an Active Directory group. We can then provision access to those different applications so that when they show up on day one, they're ready to work. They have access to all the applications they need to start being productive. Same thing with the offboarding. As I mentioned, licensing can also often be a strain for companies. With offboarding, if you know a user's leaving or moving on doing something else, changing departments, or leaving the company altogether, you can remove those licenses from that user and free them up for other people to utilize. So I think, let's see, we have a 30-minute demo, and we're at, what, we got 3 minutes. Awesome. So let me go and check what questions we have. And one is, what are some of the systems that you integrate with? This is a good question. As you saw in the demo, we have connectors to applications such as Active Directory, BMC Remedy, your CA Suite, your HP Stack, SAP, Tivoli, VMware, all these different applications that we communicate. We have connectors that are proved out that can communicate with these other applications utilizing their APIs. If you have something that's homegrown and they have APIs, we can call them through web services as well too. It just tends to be when you buy something that's commercial off the shelf, they usually have published APIs that were either other clients have requested, so we've built the connectors, or we can easily do so because they've published what that information is. Next question is, how long does it take to implement role provisioning in a service catalog? Great question. It really depends, obviously, on the complexity. That's the question, I guess, the answer you always hear. But if you're doing something very simple, such as someone's requesting access to, and all they need to do is get Active Directory group added to them, that can be done extremely quickly. I mean, in less than a week, we've set up for our clients access to different AD groups with error handling, approvals, escalations. In fact, it's something that can be created easily on your own, even without PMG services. Some of the more complex stuff is when you get into the security roles. Person A has access to these systems and wants access to these systems. What are the checks and balances there? What prevents that person from getting the new access, and what rules are in place? That's when things can get a little bit more complex, and depending on the complexity, extends the amount of time it takes to create it. All right, so we are out of time. So I will get to all the questions that have been submitted after the webinar. I'll email you guys. If you want to, feel free to email me at mmclowski@pmg.net. I'd be happy to talk to you more about the service catalog in general or automated role provisioning. As I mentioned earlier as well, too, the webinar will be emailed to you and also be available on the PMG site. So thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Have a good afternoon.